The Callahan family farm had stood on the edge of the Arizona desert for over 3 generations. It was more than just land, it was a legacy. To Jack Callahan, a retired Army Ranger, it was home, a place where he found peace after years of combat. But peace is a fragile thing in a world full of uncertainty. The trouble started subtly. First, cattle went missing. Then, fences were cut and tools were stolen. Jack chalked it up to drifters passing through. But when he returned from a trip to town and found strangers living in his house, his world turned upside down. They weren't just squatters. They were a group of dangerous men with ties to cartel operations across the border, and they weren't leaving willingly. Jack had fought for his country before. Now, he was about to fight for his home. The day started like any other. Jack loaded his truck with supplies and drove into town to pick up feed for his livestock. The sun was relentless, beating down on the dusty roads as he made his way back home. But something felt off as he approached the property. The gate was wide open. Jack frowned. He always made sure to lock it. He slowed his truck and scanned the horizon. The barn door hung ajar, and there were unfamiliar vehicles parked near the house. His heart sank. Grabbing his shotgun from the passenger seat, Jack approached cautiously. Shadow, his loyal German shepherd, followed at his side. When Jack reached the front porch, the door creaked open, revealing a man with a hardened face and a cold glare. "This is private property," Jack said, his voice steady. The man smirked. "Not anymore. It's ours now." Jack tightened his grip on the shotgun. "I don't think so." The standoff was brief but tense. Jack knew he was outnumbered, but he wasn't going to back down. He turned and walked back to his truck, his mind racing with plans. This wasn't over. Back in town, Jack met with Sheriff Tom Reese, an old friend and fellow veteran. "They've taken over my place," Jack said, frustration evident in his voice. Reese sighed. "We've been hearing about groups like this. They cross the border and take what they want. It's hard to keep track of them." "I'm not going to let them have my farm," Jack said firmly. Reese nodded. "I figured you'd say that. Be careful, Jack. These aren't just desperate migrants. They're dangerous." Jack left the sheriff's office with a renewed sense of purpose. He had faced worse threats during his time in the military. This was personal now. Jack spent the next few days gathering supplies and preparing for a confrontation. He knew the land better than anyone, and he planned to use that to his advantage. One night, he approached the farm under the cover of darkness. Shadow stayed close, moving silently through the brush. Jack spotted 2 men standing guard near the house. He took them out quietly, using his combat knife with precision honed from years of training. Inside the house, he found more men. They were armed, but they hadn't expected resistance. Jack moved swiftly, disabling their vehicles and cutting off their communications. By dawn, the remaining squatters were waking up to chaos. Their trucks wouldn't start, and their radios were dead. Jack watched from a distance, waiting for the right moment to strike again. The group's leader, a man known only as El Cazador, wasn't pleased. He was a seasoned cartel enforcer, and he didn't take kindly to interference. "Find him," El Cazador ordered his men. "We'll make an example out of him." But Jack wasn't easy to find. He used the terrain to his advantage, setting traps and leading the squatters deeper into the desert. One by one, they fell into his carefully laid ambushes. El Cazador grew increasingly desperate. He knew they couldn't stay on the farm forever. They needed to finish this quickly. Meanwhile, Jack continued his guerrilla tactics, hitting the group when they least expected it. He left messages carved into the wood of the barn. "This is my land." El Cazador decided to take the fight to Jack. He and his remaining men tracked him to an abandoned mining shack on the edge of the property. But Jack was waiting. The firefight was intense. Jack used his knowledge of the land to outmaneuver the invaders. Shadow played a crucial role, distracting and disarming the enemy. In the end, it was just Jack and El Cazador, facing off in the desert heat. "You could have left," Jack said, leveling his rifle at the man. El Cazador sneered. "This isn't over. There will be more." Jack shook his head. "Not on my land." With a single shot, it was over. The sun rose over the Callahan farm, casting a golden light over the fields. Jack stood on the porch, looking out at the land he had fought to reclaim. Sheriff Reese pulled up in his patrol car, stepping out to join Jack. "You did good, Jack. The town owes you." Jack nodded. "I didn't do it for the town. I did it for my family's legacy." Reese clapped a hand on Jack's shoulder. "Either way, you're a hero." As the townspeople began to return to their lives, Jack knew he had done the right thing. His farm was more than just land. It was a symbol of resilience, of standing up against those who would take what isn't theirs. Jack Callahan had fought for his country, and now he had fought for his home. And as long as he drew breath, no one would ever take it from him again.